Welcome to the Intel Network Builders Technology V-Summit series. Time now for our session on accelerating secure digital transformation with VMware SD-WAN and Zscaler, part of the Network Platform Security and Services V-Summit. As enterprises embrace digital transformation and support employees working from anywhere, securing network traffic traversing between the edge and the cloud is critical. Zscaler and VMware have partnered to enable enterprises to adopt a SASE framework that securely connects any user to any application across any location. Well, to tell us more, I would like to welcome Tim van Herck, who is Director of Technical Product Management at VMware, and Amit Raikar, who is VP of Technology Alliances and Business Development at Zscaler. Hello, both of you. Thanks very much for joining us on the session today. Tim, why do modern enterprises need network and security transformation?
Well, thanks, Guy, for having us on here today. Very happy to be here. And if you look around in the IT landscape and you scan around in the last couple of years, you see that there is a lot of changes on the horizon. So first of all, we see that applications have changed. We increasingly see that enterprises are consuming applications as a cloud service. In many cases, they're now deployed as microservices in virtual data centers as well. And we increasingly also see that users are relying on real-time application requiring low latency connections, as well as high bandwidth consumers. So video conferencing would be one of those prototypical applications that come to mind here. On the security side, we also, of course, see that the threat landscape is quickly evolving, and that requires a somewhat different approach where we need to bring security a lot closer to the application. And at the same time, we want to make sure that, like, if you can't rely on a very close security, that you use a cloud security service to capture a broad set of threats, correlate those across the board, and stop those threats and active threat vectors. In addition to that, we also see that the data center deployments have changed. Increasing cloud adoption is accelerating. We see enterprises increasingly relying on virtual data centers to build out their application and infrastructure as well. And of course, an impact on the data center design as well is that the workforce is now increasingly distributed. So obviously, the pandemic has a big play in that. But a natural implication of that is that you typically want your data center to be somewhat geographically close to your user base. And as the workforce is more distributed, you want those applications and those data centers also to be slightly more distributed. And then the most relevant to this discussion is that the branch is also dramatically changed over the last couple of years, where the perimeter is now really dissolving as users are consuming cloud applications, and you can't necessarily rely on traditional hardware-based firewall to protect those applications. But we also seen a lot of cost pressures to drive down the operational expenses associated with running branches, especially on the side where you're dealing with MPLS circuits that now don't necessarily get you anymore to these cloud applications. And then a last item, of course, in this context is that the user quality expectations dramatically went up. So if we are dealing with network outages or even impairments into the network, there is a significant productivity impact. And in many cases these days where we rely on business critical applications, there is an impact to the business itself. So all of these components basically require us to have a fresh look on how we architect our IT infrastructure in a modern organizations today.
Thank you, Tim. And Amit, what are the top industry verticals that are leading deployments of or even inquiring about SASE architecture?
The benefits of SD-WAN or SASE, or Secure Access Service Edge, are not necessarily vertical specific. All verticals benefit from the benefits of network and security transformation as it relates to improved agility, better alignment with the cloud-first mobile enterprise architecture, as well as reducing costs. And so what we have observed is it's not much on verticals as much as how much the enterprise can really maximize the benefits. And the typical profile of an enterprise that really thrives or really kind of gets the maximum benefits of this is more around a highly distributed enterprise. The larger the number of branches the customer has or the enterprise has across the globe, the more the benefits you can expect the enterprise to realize. What we observed a few years back when the transformations first started happening it was most of the enterprises in America started kind of adopting and investing in it. But over the last couple of years, we have seen the adoption to be now more globally adopted also.
Thank you, Amit. Tim, what would you say were the most important deployment drivers for SD-WAN during the early years of the technology? And how does this compare to now? And are we seeing any differences by region?
Yeah, so like if you look again at the early adopters on the SD-WAN side, I think there were like two critical components that they were looking at. So I think the first is often an interesting aspect is cost reductions in the branch, right? We saw that there was a driver towards reducing the dependency on MPLS circuits and driving towards increased redundancy by leveraging multiple internet circuits. So that was obviously a driver as organizations started moving into the cloud and the MPLS circuits became less relevant to get to these cloud destinations. Another aspect of that cost saving was the zero-touch provisioning of the solution itself, where you don't necessarily have to do truck rolls to install the devices, but that you can now deploy these with limited or no assistance from IT professionals, and often deploy in locations where you can't necessarily rely on IT professionals to be on site to begin with. So think, for example, about a retail environment. So that is usually installed by a technician. So the idea of SD-WAN is that you can actually have that installed by a retail clerk in the site itself. So the deployment of the solution becomes a lot less technical to roll out. Then another component that was critically important for many enterprises was the application performance protection, where if our organizations are increasingly relying on real-time applications, so think about like voice solutions over the internet, then you want to protect those applications and make sure that like even if there are small glitches on the underlying network, that you can performance protect that application and always give the best quality towards the end user as well. So that was early on. As the technology matured, we did see that there was still an enormous focus around the application performance protection, but it started shifting towards flexibility of the connection. So the ability to sort of like mix and match different types of internet connections. So whether thinking about LTE connections into DSL and cable connections, but still being able to sort of like mix in the MPLS circuits that were still on contract as well. And SD-WAN now becomes that focal component where it becomes the dispatch point and on-ramp to all of the cloud assets that your organization may have as well. So whether these are infrastructure as a service components or solution services or cloud security services like a Zscaler, where you want to connect to those to protect your internet-bound traffic. And I think the last component that we do see a lot of focus on is the programmability of the solution itself and the ability to set up policies that are outcome driven rather than entry level, where you have to worry about like which TCP port am I trying to protect or steer across the network, and how is that working with the solution itself. So what we can do now is we can actually set up a very intuitive policy through our business policy framework, where you can set up a policy, for example, to determine like what the behavior is of Facebook on the network, including how that traffic will fail over under failure conditions as well. So that is a really important aspect as you start integrating the solution with other components in the network as well. So Guy, you were also asking about regional differences. So we do see that in certain regions, the MPLS connectivity is cost-wise very close to internet connectivity as well. So in those particular regions, I'm thinking about certain countries in Asia-Pac, other countries in Latin America as well. The focus is a little bit more around connectivity and the ease of connectivity in between the different sites.
Now, there's a lot of SD-WAN vendors in the market. Tim, what makes VMware SD-WAN unique, and why is VMware and Zscaler the best SASE solution?
Yes, so we center the solution around 4 key pillars. So we start out with making sure that there is a simplified WAN operation in place. And that is not just limited to like an intuitive portal that you can use to configure as an enterprise administrator, but we're talking about the zero-touch provisioning before, where it's very easy for technicians to install the solution. And it's not necessarily even required to have a technician on site. In many cases, you can rely on the staff on site to actually do that deployment itself, as it becomes very easy to do so. And then more importantly, I think there is also a requirement for like having REST APIs in the solution natively, so that the DevOps teams that are now taking a much more prominent role in operating the network can integrate that with other solutions as well, and they can ingest information and statistics from the solution itself. So the next component is our assured application performance, where we have the ability to react in real time to changing conditions on the last mile link and make sure that the applications can always use the best available path at any given point in time. And then we were talking about the ease of cloud adoption as well. So I think this is an integral part of the solution as well, where we provide off-ramps to all of the cloud solutions or cloud-delivered applications as well, and make sure that we can get to cloud security services like a Zscaler. And that's the fourth component, is the ability to have intrinsic security in the solution as well, where we have built-in capabilities and built-in firewall capabilities to the first line of defense on the edge devices itself. But then we rely on much more intensive processing and intensive scanning of the traffic flows for true cloud services. And Zscaler, of course, is our premium partner. I think Zscaler also demonstrated leadership in the Secure WebGate Magic Quadrant. VMware as well is like third year in a row leader in the WAN Edge infrastructure Gartner Magic Quadrant as well. So we're very proud of that achievement. And together with Zscaler, we have a rock solid solution that is a benefit to a great set of customers out there.
Thanks, Tim. And Amit, what type of application or workload traffic is most commonly sent to Zscaler?
The beauty of our joint solution is that you don't have to compromise on security or performance for that matter. And a lot of times, customers have to, in the past, had to choose on which applications they want to enforce security because of those trade-offs. What we have built a solution ground up is to make sure that we have flexible options to make sure that you don't make those trade-offs. In general, you need a secure perimeter for all internet-bound traffic, whether it is web applications, whether it is SaaS applications, or cloud applications in general. And so what Zscaler provides is a unified enforcement for that security for all users, irrespective of where the users are located, whether they are on-premise, mobile, or working from home. And we built a solution towards that framework. So as you will see in the architecture that is being reflected on this on the slide, you will notice that there are connections that are direct from the edge device or the VMware SD-WAN edge appliance directly to Zscaler. So this is typically for like web applications where there is not any performance related concerns. On the other hand, for any applications that have performance concerns, like for example voice or something like that, those applications can be routed from the VMware SD-WAN edge device to the VMware SD-WAN cloud gateway, and that link can be optimized and then sent to the Zscaler cloud. In that way, you kind of handle both type of traffic in the best way possible.
Thank you, Amit. And Tim, how are you able to deliver a secure environment for networking traffic whilst also maintaining a high quality application experience for home users? And also I'd like to ask, how many customers have been deploying SD-WAN in home environments?
Yes, Guy, I think it all starts with our DMPO technology. So that's short for dynamic multipath optimization. And it's effectively an umbrella technology that has a couple of components under the hood. So we start out with doing application detection. So figuring out which application is on the network and understanding what the requirements are of that application of the network itself. So for example, if you're looking at a Skype application, we want to make sure that we always route that towards the lowest latency link. In other cases where you want to do a bulk file transfer, we want to make sure that you can actually steer that application over multiple links so you can aggregate the capacity of all of the available transit links that are available at the edge. That is, as I mentioned earlier on, coupled with a business policy framework that gives you that ability to very intuitively set out what you want to do with the applications and how you want the applications to behave over the larger enterprise network. And then the second aspect of that is the link measurement. So every packet that actually goes over the network is instrumented, and it provides a feedback loop on how the underlying networks are actually behaving and what the performance characteristics are of that network itself. So this allows us to do sub-second reactions to changing conditions on the underlying links. And then the third and critical component is, of course, our link steering capabilities. So now that we understand which applications are on the network, what they require from the network, and how the underlying paths are behaving, we can make intelligent decisions whether to steer an application to the best available link. If we can't necessarily find a good behaving link, then we have on-demand remediation capabilities. So think, for example, about de-jittering buffering. So like if there is a lot of jitter on the network, we're actually going to slow down the flows artificially so that we normalize the packet arrival times for each of those voice flows. So this technology is basically bookended between the edges and our SASE POPs. And the SASE POPs are another critical component that provide these off-ramp to the cloud services, but they also have the ability to increase the scale of our solution as well. So if you are thinking about deploying thousands of edges that all need to communicate with each other, then the SASE POPs are actually there to facilitate that. And this is covered, there has a global coverage today, and they are strategically located next to the major SaaS and IaaS providers of the world. And in many cases, we actually directly pair with these providers as well. And then what brings the security to the forefront is our cloud VPN technology. So that is actually securing the overlays that DMPO is creating. And it's providing protected paths in between all of the different endpoints, whether these are different branches that you want to connect with each other, whether these are IaaS applications or virtual data centers that are operating in the cloud, or in the case for Zscaler, if we want to jump off to Zscaler to inspect flows for internet-bound traffic and doing advanced threat protection on that side. And we do see that many companies are actually deploying SD-WAN today. I think, as Amit mentioned earlier on, it is critically important to the business where you have a lot of distributed enterprise locations, and you want to distribute the security aspect of well, but you want to centralize the behavior of that security enforcement.
Amit, Tim spoke earlier about many VMware SD-WAN gateways being located globally. Is this also true of Zscaler's Service Edge POPs?
Yes, Zscaler Cloud is the largest security cloud currently. It is encompasses or it is enforced across 150 data centers, and it continues to grow in terms of a footprint of we add data centers all the time. And it currently handles, just to give you some context around performance, we currently handle over 130 billion requests per day, and as part of that, block over 100 million attacks or per day. So that's a pretty strong in terms of the performance aspect of it. We also make sure we comply or we with all the mandates that are either vertical specific or geographical specific. So for example, we are FedRAMP certified, so as to better align with the expectations of our federal customers, as well as we have GDPR compliance when it comes to log management. We make sure that the logs are stored and saved in the local kind of regions where the users are located. And so that's kind of how we have built this cloud to scale while being regional in nature.
And how does Zscaler and VMware bring your combined value together for a seamless experience for the customer?
Yeah, so while VMware SD-WAN and Zscaler are undisputed leaders in their own segments and has been recognized by Gartner in their Magic Quadrants, we wanted to make sure that 1 + 1 = 3 in terms of really providing an integrated experience for the customer. And what that means is basically when, for example, SD-WAN promises on zero touch provisioning of the branches, and how can we make sure that the security gets intrinsically embedded as part of that provisioning process. So towards that, we made sure to have an API based integration for automating that process, as well as made sure to have all the connections set up in such a resilient manner that it continues to provide the same resilience as SD-WAN provides. And so there are three key things that we have enabled via the integration. One is that automatically the branch location will identify which is the closest Zscaler POP for that is near that branch location, and it will identify two Zscaler data centers, one which will be used as a primary and one which will be used as a secondary in case of high availability reasons or incidents. The second one is about seamlessly and transparently adding those branch locations into the Zscaler context. So as new branches come up, things have to be set up within Zscaler so as to apply the right policies and to enforce to map those locations to the right customer and all of those kind of things. So that is the second thing that we have enabled via the integration. The third one is more the mechanics of setting up the IPsec parameters to set up the tunnel. Now this would entail, for example, setting up the shared key between the VMware SD-WAN edge or VMware SD-WAN device and Zscaler cloud. So those are some of the things that we have fully automated, as part of, and in terms of how you do that, it entails basically you can set up all of this automation at an enterprise-wide level within like 5 to 10 minutes. And I can quickly show a demo about that, where with just 3 steps, which are to be done once, everything gets activated. So the first step is in terms of creating the API credential for that particular enterprise within the Zscaler UI. And so you choose which particular API key is generated for that particular, for VMware SD-WAN. Once that is done, you need to create an API user so that the restrictions of that particular access is limited to just the SD-WAN type of usage. And so all of this again is done with just a few clicks, as seen in the demo, where you set up a admin kind of role with limited privileges just for the API usage. And once that is created, both of these credentials, which is the API key and the specific role or admin role that has been created for the API usage, needs to be then populated as part of creating an API integration profile within the VMware SD-WAN UI. So as we are shifting here, this is the VMware SD-WAN UI, where admin UI, where you're setting up the IPsec automation. We'll first double click on the edge-based IPsec automation and show how that is to be set up. And the first thing will be done is to create a profile for that cloud security service edge. Here is where you will specify which particular Zscaler cloud that particular customer is mapped to, and the user, the account context, as well as the API key. Once that is done, it will be confirmed that that particular profile has been created. And you will then get into the next step of trying to apply that profile to a specific business policy. So we'll go to the next thing about configuring the profiles, and then enable or activate that particular profile to be starting to being enforced. And then we'll go on to the business policies aspect of it. So this again is focused around activating the profile and confirming that the profile is all set up. And you'll see here that everything has been set up and confirmed in terms of the profile being fully activated, and including confirming that the API calls are all happening and everything. So this highlights that the API integration is fully activated. The other aspect is around Yeah, so this is where it highlights that the tunnels are all running because of the API activation is fully enabled, and it will highlight which is the primary and as well as the stand-up tunnel. So as you can see, it just took a couple of minutes to enable the automation. Now there are certain branches which might require support for GRE tunnels. We also provided that option from the VMware SD-WAN edge to Zscaler. Again, it takes a couple of clicks to enable that activation also, and we support that option in case of branches which require a little bit of a higher throughput from because of there might be a headquarters type of a location, and in that case that option can be used. And then the final option is around enabling the connections from the VeloCloud or a VMware SD-WAN gateway to the Zscaler POP. And again, this is very easy to set it up also, where we are just setting up IPsec tunnels from between the VMware SD-WAN gateway and Zscaler POP, and activating that in the same way as was done before. So this highlights how easy it is to use any of the three options that we jointly support to support the various kind of deployment scenarios that are most optimal for the specific customer.
Great demo, Amit. Can I also ask why cloud security is the best approach at securing SD-WAN or local breakouts? Why aren't on-prem appliances or VNFs not an effective or efficient option?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to my earlier reference about not having to compromise on security or performance. While both of us have a strong passion of making sure we deliver on the customer's expectations when it comes to all types of stakeholders, whether it is not just the enterprise IT when it comes to being able to be agile, as well as being able to kind of have high ROI on their investments, but also the user in terms of the performance expectations and the user experience. And so towards that, we wanted the cloud delivered service helps to kind of enable that to happen. When you have an on-premise deployment, whether it is in the realm of an appliance or in the realm of VNFs, you have limitations in terms of or you're forced into making trade-offs between performance or functionality so as to manage your costs. And so when you have a cloud delivered service, you're not forced into doing that because as being a multi-tenant cloud platform, we can scale and flex up or flex down as needed for handling the traffic that is expected. The second thing is we also can offer a very comprehensive integrated stack, which entails all types of functionality ranging from access control in terms of application visibility and control, as well as more advanced threat protection, which includes next-gen firewall, IPS, sandboxing. And in today's environment, what is critical is around data protection, which is data loss prevention, CASB, all of that functionality. And we do that by also doing SSL inspection. In today's environment, 2/3 of the traffic, if not more, is SSL encrypted. How do you enforce security if you don't do SSL inspection? In the past, with appliances, because of the cost trade-offs, you were forced into not being able to apply that SSL decryption for all types of traffic. You would do it very selectively so as to manage the cost investments. With us, our customers have the promise that we will inspect all traffic. We will not do selective inspection, and so that highlights the benefits of the cloud delivered security model versus an on-premise model.
I have a couple of final questions for both of you. Tim, let me start with you first. How are you working with Intel for your SASE offerings, and what value does Intel bring?
Yeah, so the VMware SASE platform actually relies on several important Intel technologies today, but we've first and foremost chosen to build our edge hardware on Intel-based processors. And this creates us quite a bit of flexibility to portability in the sense that you can implement the edge function as a VNF on a universal CPE device. So VMware offers the Edge component as a software image as well. We have a hardware line that is based on Intel platforms. But the important aspect here is that you can take the software, look at a UCP device that is x86 based, and then just implement the vSphere ESXi hypervisor and implement that VNF as a function. So you can use that as a very generic way to service chain multiple VNFs together and basically create your own physical appliance from a series of different components. The most common example that I would like to show here is the Dell VEP 4600. So that is based on a Xeon D processor. And it's providing two other important Intel technology that we rely on, which is QAT or Quick Assist technology and DPDK. So QAT is helping us to accelerate all of our cryptographic operations. So anytime we send traffic towards another enterprise location, whether that is another branch or a virtual data center, the QAT technology is going to be there to accelerate our crypto support and drive the performance up when we do encrypt applications over the network. And then DPDK is there to accelerate packet movement inside the appliance as well. So and it's there to avoid any costly structure copy operations on network packets so that you can keep the packaging format of the appliance to an absolute minimum. So I think those are the two critical solutions that we work with Intel on, and that we partner with Intel on to deliver the SD-WAN solutions.
Thank you. And Amit, tell us more about your collaboration with Intel and the value that Intel brings.
It goes a long way. When we first started 13 years back, we worked very closely with Intel because we wanted to build our entire data center using 64-bit architecture. And so that was where we first started our collaboration. And then currently we use the Intel Xeon technology as well as DPDK technology. And we are working very closely in terms of starting to use the Quick Assist technology also. So it's been a long-standing relationship, and we continue to collaborate closely to leverage the performance and all of the additional value that Intel can provide to us.
And finally, let me ask you both what future integrations we should expect to see in 2021. Tim, let me start by asking you first.
Yeah, so I'm going to defer to some of the details to Amit, but I think in general, we're looking to make the user experience a lot more seamless, right? So that as an end user, and as Amit was demonstrating earlier on in the demo as well, that it is very easy to deploy the SASE solution, and that you can easily sort of like synchronize the policies in between the Zscaler solution and the VMware SD-WAN solution as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of API integrations there to drive forward the offering that users can consume.
Yeah, so we, as was seen in the demo, we have been working very closely in terms of providing the seamless experience for our end customers, and we continue to invest in doing the same. We just introduced a new capability around making sure that we provide more granular automation around security policy enforcement. So when VMware SD-WAN discovers that there are specific subnets that are allocated for guest Wi-Fi or IoT devices, we have made the integration so as to seamlessly enforce the right policies for those type of network segments. So, for example, when it comes to guest Wi-Fi, you probably don't want to do SSL inspection for those type of users because of privacy concerns or those kind of aspects. On the other hand, when it comes to IoT devices, you don't want to enforce user authentication because that will not be feasible to do that. So us being able to share that information in both sides in terms of VMware SD-WAN providing us that visibility, and then we enforcing the right policy for those specific segments has been just provided to our joint customers. We continue to go down that path in terms of single sign-on experience also between both our admin UIs, so as to have a more cohesive admin experience for using both our technologies. And then even in terms of performance, we between our gateways, We have plans to scale it further as we have more and more customers adopt our technologies, and both our gateways and clouds are multi-tenant in nature to support to co-innovate multi-tenant GRE framework towards connecting both our clouds together. So those are a glimpse of some of the co-innovation that we are working together on.
Yeah, and I think Amit, to maybe summarize, I think the general theme of like what we're trying to do with the integration of Zscaler and VMware SD-WAN is to make it easier for enterprise administrators to deploy a SASE solution and making it very seamless to deploy policies across the board as well. So I think this is an important point where like both of the leaders in the Magic Quadrants are basically putting these solutions together and creating a lot of value for customers of enterprises of all sort of like sizes today. So it's really great to see the two technologies come together in providing that value to the customers.
Amit and Tim, thank you both very much indeed for taking part in our session today. And don't forget to watch our other sessions in the Network Platform Security and Services V Summit. We have a session on security for a multi-hybrid cloud environment, plus 2 further sessions on cloud-native security and secure computing. For now though, thank you for watching and goodbye.